Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series. Hey guys, it's Adam here. Recently I took a trip out to New Jersey, which is right across from New York City, as you can see there. I went to AVGC, a video game con in New Jersey. Now, I was a guest of the convention, that's why I had my own table there. I shared that table with Rich from Review Tech USA, as well as my buddy Shane, aka Rerez TV. Yeah, you saw there was Pat the NES Punk and Norm the Gaming Historian were there. I'll talk more about that in a bit. So the main room that my table was in was like an arcade room, so all these games were on like free play mode, and anyone who's in there, hey, there's Shane. What up, Shane? Yeah, he's a good buddy of mine. If you haven't, you should check out his channel, Rerez TV. It's a good channel. Does a lot of great stuff over there. But yeah, in this room, so there's a lot of arcades and stuff, and there were a couple of dealer tables in this room, but there was more in another area, which I'll show you guys when we get there. But yeah, all these arcades were totally set up for free. Anybody could play them. But yeah, man, I was a guest of the convention, so they flew me out, they gave me a hotel room and all that stuff, and it was really cool. I had a really good time there. I got to hang out with, of course, a lot of these guys, and met up with a lot of fans and stuff, which was really, really cool. Yeah, and so again, they also had pinball machines, which Shane was happy about. He loves pinball. So there's Pat on the left, there's Rich right there on the right. Then over here you can see there's Norm, and then there's Eric, 8-Bit Eric. Shane's right there. So a lot of YouTubers you guys might be familiar with there. Of course, the ultimate one right there, that's AVGN, James Rolfe up there. Obviously, he was a little bit separated from the rest of us. You know, he had like this giant line and stuff, and you know, you can go up and meet him. That's my buddy James right there. He's totally rocking out to a DDR. I filmed this without his knowledge. Sorry, James. That's David Crossan, is one of the guys who hosted it. He was also one of the co-founders of Classic Game Room. So if you go back and watch like the really old versions of Classic Game Room, you know, he was in there for like 3 years. Anyway, moving out of that main room, once you get out in the hallway, there's more, you know, dealers and stuff and other people, and I decided I would take you into the, like, the game room. So this was the second room that had tables set up with various CRTs. There's James again, and there's Shane again. And yeah, anyway, so they had CRT TVs, and they had consoles of all kinds just hooked up to all these, and a lot of games all set up that people could play. You'll also notice that from time to time there will be more or less people in all of these shots, and the reason for that is I obviously filmed it at different times. I'm just trying to I thought I'd edit it into kind of a geographically structured story, if you will. So like, yeah, all right, so this was shot on the Saturday of the event. The event was 2 days long. It was Saturday and Sunday. I was there pretty much the entire time on Saturday, but on Sunday I ended up leaving a little bit early just because that's, you know, I had an early flight, so I had to unfortunately leave before I would have preferred to, but nevertheless, really awesome time. But yeah, man, this is like right before the doors opened, so I thought it'd be a great time to just kind of show you everything before it got swarmed. But yeah, a lot of TVs and stuff, a lot of gaming options in there. Also signed some things. This girl came up to us. She was trying to get all the YouTubers to sign this virtual girl. Obviously, it's a custom job she did. So Shane and I were the first people to sign it, which was awesome. There was also this. This was like a custom arcade to PVM like device. I don't remember exactly what it was, but the guy had all the YouTubers sign it. AVGN signed it too, although it's not in the footage. That was actually donated to charity, and so my name being on there along with those other people's, theoretically, probably not so much mine, but all the other people's names helped donate, get some money from charity from the auction. So now this was one of the coolest things. You guys already probably know what that is, but if you don't, that is the Nintendo PlayStation. You heard that right. I did a video on this a long time ago. There was at one time Sony and Nintendo were working together to make essentially a new console, or also known as the SNES CD. It's a really convoluted story. Again, check out my video for the details. This prototype is real. It was made, and it was supposed to be discarded, but it was found, and the guy here who has it, his name is Terry. yeah, he's a really cool dude, and turns out he's a fan of my channel, probably because he saw that video. He had actually contacted me at one point, and he was more than willing to, like, you know, let me shoot a bunch of footage of this thing. He showed me all this stuff. I did not want to touch it because, you know, you don't know what this thing is worth. It's also obviously a very unique and rare piece of history. So every time I needed like a shot, I just asked him if he'd, you know, move it around or whatever I needed him to do. But I just thought I'd get you guys a lot of glory shots of this thing. He said it. I mean, you guys probably all saw Ben Heck's video already, so I'm not going to surprise you with anything. But it was cool to learn the thing supported like RGB and stuff. This I liked because it said Sony on the controller port and then Nintendo on the controller itself, and that's a little proof of purchase of the thing, if you will. Now, all right, so now I'm holding the thing, and you're probably like, "Well, I thought you weren't going to touch it." I wasn't planning on it, but at one point, you know, like I said, he said he was a fan of my channel, or at least he had seen those videos. So he was like, "Yeah, if you want to take a photo with it, come over here." And I'm like, "Oh, that's so awesome!" So I actually got to take a bunch of pictures with that thing. And then naturally, after I've put it down, he tells me like how much money he's been offered for that thing, and I'm like, "Oh God, why did you let me touch this thing?" But ultimately, it was fine. Nothing came of it. It was just a really, really awesome opportunity to be able to see that. Now, we're in the final area here, which was, of course, the dealer room. Like any good game convention, you got to have dealer tables. So lots of people obviously selling a lot of video games. And I picked up some stuff, not a ton, but I'll show you what I got at the end of the video. I thought I would just kind of go around and show you random things, and you know, it was cool. Yeah, like they were like, when people wave, it's usually people who know who I am, and then they you know, there was a lot of people who would stop and talk to me and stuff, and that was really flattering. People who recognized the channel, some people who came out to see me, some people who just, you know, knew I was going to be here but were going to be there anyway, and then other people who, you know, didn't know I was coming and just like, aren't you the Dreamcast guy or whatever. It's really flattering when that stuff happens. But yeah, man, so wandering around, lots of footage there. I'm hanging out with Shane. I like shopping with Shane because Shane's Canadian, so when he comes down to the States, it's fun because he's always trying to get like more unique stuff. So not only do we shop at things like this, but we'll go off to like grocery stores, and then, you know, he'll fill up his cart with all this stuff that he can't get in Canada. It's awesome. That's his wife Robin there. Right there, that was James Rolfe. I know that was a really brief clip of him. He was hanging out with this guy in the blue here. That's Rob, friend of mine. And yeah, James is man of the people, man. He has no problem just walking around the dealer room, but you know, everyone tries to film footage of the dude, and so I just got a little clip just to show you guys, like, yeah, he was there. I didn't want to bother him too much. Like, I've met him before, I've talked to him a little bit, but like, you know, I'm sure he appreciates not always having a camera shoved in his face, so that's why I just got like a tiny clip, frankly, when he didn't notice. And yeah, man, so just continuing around, showing you more stuff here. Lots of cool things, not just video games. There's lots of video game type of things like artwork, and then you see random things you probably never see before, like Mario teaches typing for the PC and all these like random devices and stuff. People will sell like reproduction cards and stuff of cool things, and then of course you got a lot of these like bargain bins and stuff. And yeah, just lots of if you've never been to a game swap like this, I really recommend that you go. Like, you can get some seriously good deals. And one thing you should always do, man, is you bring cash and you also haggle. Like, especially during like fire sale time, like when the event's wrapping up, people are starting to get ready to, you know, unload stuff because they don't want to take it back, so they're starting to be willing to take more offers. But you know, that's the risk you run, because a lot of the best stuff will go right away. You know, it's how it is. It's all a big gamble. You never know what you're gonna find, and that's a lot of the fun of it. So that was AVGC, obviously quite cool, as you saw there. So now I just want to show you guys the few pickups I got while I was there. I didn't spend a whole lot of time getting pickups because I had panels, I had my own like booth, and I was really just doing a lot more mingling with the other YouTubers, the other guests, and you know, fans. A lot of people came up to want to talk to me and stuff, and I focused more on that than I did on the dealer room itself. But that said, I still did get some stuff, so let's go ahead and show you what that was. First up, for the OG Xbox, a couple of games, just two. NFL Blitz 2003, which I was pretty happy to find because I actually almost never see this game anymore. I'm not sure why, but for some reason the NFL Blitz games on the OG Xbox are hard to find. Not valuable, don't get me wrong, not valuable. And you can certainly find them online, but I mean in stores. I never see them anywhere, so I was happy to get that. And this one I was really happy to get, only because it's shot up in price a lot lately. Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2. This went up in price a lot because of the death of Dave Mirra, which I once mistakenly said Matt Hoffman was the one that died. Oops, my bad, I apologize for it. It was Dave Mirra. And that's why. The other thing was Dave Mirra's Freestyle BMX also had a Platinum Hits version. The Platinum Hits version, for some reason, easy to get. I see it all the time. But the regular edition is long gone most of the time. And a lot of the times it's still, now because he's dead, it's sold for much higher prices than it used to be. But one guy there had it for $5. I took the deal and it was done. Again, because if I see it, it's never complete, or it's in bad shape. If I see it at all, or it's really expensive, etc. Everything, you know, qualified there. And if you think I'm crazy, man, like I walked around that convention floor. Everyone else who had this, and there weren't many people that did, because most people don't carry OG Xbox games and stuff like that, because it doesn't sell very well, apparently. Everyone else who did have it had like $20, $25 on there. One guy had it for $5. Done deal. All day. Now, got a couple of Gamecube games. Gamecube, I'm by no stretch of the imagination even remotely considering a full set of Gamecube stuff, but I am considering going after all of the stuff that was on Gamecube that was not on the original Xbox or the Dreamcast, and there's not that much of that, so I thought that'd be kind of maybe a nice subset. I'm not committed to it because there's still some, certainly some expensive ones out there, but you know, I figured maybe I'll chip away at it because there's a lot of cheap ones. If they're still cheap, get them. Don't even think about it. But yeah, the first one up, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I believe that was a TV show on Cartoon Network. That was a little after my childhood, so I never saw it, but there you go. And then Pac-Man World Rally, which I hear is actually a pretty cool Mario Kart clone. Well, just a kart game. I guess you could call any of them Mario Kart clones, although it's not necessarily fair. But there you go, Pac-Man World Rally. So this was funny. So at the show, my buddy Shane, aka Re-Res TV, he was wandering around. He likes to buy a lot of like obscure, weird things that he can do videos on. And one thing he picked up was a Pocket Station. Now the Pocket Station was a little Tamagotchi VMU-like thing that Sony made for the PS1. It was not particularly successful and it was only released in Japan. It was relatively quickly discontinued. Now he picked one of those up, but he couldn't find any games for it. Again, because they were all Japanese. Now apparently there are some North American games that support it because they thought they'd release the hardware here, but they never did. But the reason I'm bringing this up is I don't have a Pocket Station, like that didn't come up. But while I was just sitting there at my booth, or my table more accurately, a guy named Greg came up to me and he was chatting with me for a while. A hell of a nice guy. I even did an interview with him for his channel. And he after it was basically ending, he just out of nowhere he just pulls out like a bunch of PS1 games and he's like, "Yeah, man, I just bought a Pocket Station and I had a bunch of games with it and I don't want the games, so they're yours." And then Shane's standing right next to me and he's got a Pocket Station with no games, so that was pretty funny. But I let Shane borrow the games. He took them up to Canada with him, and I knew I'd be going up there in like 2 weeks after. So I was like, "You got 2 weeks, film whatever you need with the games, and then I'll take them back." So whenever his video on the Pocket Station comes out, if he's got footage of these games, it was mine. But yeah, anyway, so I'll just show you the games. Thank you again to Greg for doing that. Again, you didn't have to do that, dude. I tried to talk him out of it, but he was like, "No, man, you collect everything. Just take them, just take them." So thank you, Greg. So this first one is called Pocket Mew Mew. You have to understand, I know squat fuck all about these games, other than the fact that they're all Japanese and that they all support the Pocket Station in some way or another. Beyond that, I don't know. They're all in like minty fresh condition. Like I swear I think they were sealed and I think he just opened them right before he handed them to me or something, because they're absolutely flawless condition. But yeah, Pocket Mew Mew, which was cool because it's in one of the thicker Japanese cases. Nice to have. This one is the only one that doesn't have its name in English anywhere on it. I think it was a pack-in with the VMU, or the Pocket Station. I believe it's called Pocket Net or something like that. PokeNet, not Pokemon, but I think it starts like PokeNet. I'll put the name here. I have it written down somewhere. But yeah, there it is. Now these two I like more, just because they have a lot of English on the title. I'm going to read them to you verbatim what they say, because I think it's funny. Because you would think that there'd be enough English-capable speaking people in Japan to write this correctly, but for some reason they didn't. Why even put it in English at all if you're going to write it this bad when it's only being sold to a Japanese market? I mean, that just confounds the mind. But anyway, here it is. This first game is called Paca, P-A-Q-A, or I guess it's the third game, isn't it? But Paca, at least I assume that's how you pronounce it. Now the subtitle below the artwork says, "This is a kind of big adventure story. You'll think he is an alien. Unfortunately, he is not your friend. Good, I hope." Yep, I hope it's good too. I hope it was good for you. Now, the last one is a game called Pocket Dungeon, which also has some specialness. 500 years from now, one brave set the holy flame. Now, the flame is fading away. Not away, away. So you shall save the flame before disappear. Yep, but that was Pocket Dungeon, so it's funny. But yeah, no, it's cool to have more like PS1 imports. I don't really get that very often. If I ever have a Pocket Station, I'll actually have something I can do with it, theoretically. Unfortunately, I don't speak Japanese, but nevertheless, very cool. Thank you, Greg. And finally, as far as software is concerned, I found something for the Dreamcast, which was nice, because I never really find Dreamcast stuff, A, because no one ever really finds Dreamcast stuff, and B, because I really have most of it. So the only stuff I ever find is like odd promo items that I missed, or didn't know about, or is just too expensive, or whatever. So in this case, it was one I simply didn't know about. This is Space Channel 5 Planet Dance, the world's greatest club hits sampler. Now, if you're wondering what the hell this is, it's a music CD. And it actually says Sega Dreamcast on it, on both the front and the back. Obviously, it's promotional material for Space Channel 5. Now, the game is actually, or the disc is actually sealed. Like, there's a plastic outer here, which is just what the booth put on it, but the original sealing is on it as well. And I don't really want to open it because, like, I know I'm not really going to use it. It would just be opening it for the sake of opening it, so I'm not going to bother. But one thing I've heard about this, there wasn't that much information on this online, but as it turns out, I think, based on what I've read, is it's a music CD that actually was one of the few discs that used the mill CD exploit on the Dreamcast, like, intentionally. Like, this was one of the things, one of the reasons that Sega even put that in there. If you're not familiar, Sega Dreamcast can read 3 types of discs. Audio CDs, GD-ROMs, which is what the games were on, and mill CDs. Mill CDs was this like weird third format, which was basically a music CD with some lines of data in it. And basically the music CDs would be enhanced if you put them in a Dreamcast. That was the function. Ultimately, it resulted in piracy and the independent scene. I did a whole video on that as well. You can look that for all the information. But basically, I think this is one of those original like mill CDs that was meant to promote, hey, if you have a Dreamcast, look how cool it is. I think. But since I haven't opened it, since I haven't tested it, I'm not 100% sure. But I also don't really intend to do that. Got a pretty good deal on it. From the few eBay transactions I saw, it was like 50 to 25, that range. They were only asking 10, which was already a good deal. I just, for the fuck of it, I offered them 5, and they, sure, no problem, done. Because I'm sure they were like, we're never going to sell this. Like, you know, I mean, that has to be really the right person to come along. It was just in a bin full of all sorts of other just assorted things, so definitely cool to get that. Now, the final item I got on the surface will look like just some generic thing that's not that exciting. Look at that. It's a Sega Saturn controller. Alright, I guess we're done here. No, wait, this is cool. This is a Sega Saturn mold controller for the PlayStation 2. Now, basically what happened with this, and I remember this shit, because I was still in high school when I saw this, and I was like depressed yet excited. Because this was like a year after Sega dropped the Dreamcast, and they decided to make games for, you know, the Xbox, the Gamecube, and the PS2. In Japan, Sega mostly decided that they were with the PlayStation 2. And they decided to port over a lot of their Sega Saturn titles specifically to the PlayStation 2, and it was part of their Sega Ages series. Now, I don't actually own any of the Sega Ages releases, but in Japan, not only was that so popular, they decided they were going to actually manufacture new controllers for the PlayStation 2 with Sega Saturn molding, hence this controller. Now, for all intents and purposes, it's a Sega Saturn controller. It has the exact same feel, it's the exact same original molding, but there are a couple of changes. One, the most obvious, is there's a PlayStation logo on it. which one might consider like sacrilegious almost, but it's over, guys. It's over. I love Sega. It's over. But the other slight changes they made is, if you see, the buttons themselves have their original like A, B, C, X, Y, and Z molding, but above it they added slightly different molding so that it would match with PlayStation, so you could like know what the button, like, because the game itself is going to say press square. It's not going to say press X, or at least not in that context. So they put a little square above the X button. They put a little triangle above the Y button, an L1 above Z, an R1 below C, a circle below B, and an X below A. And then of course there's start and select. So there you go. Yeah, they also kind of improved the shoulder buttons there too, which is kind of nice. And obviously it has a PlayStation 2 port on the end. I remember when I first saw this controller back on like Lixang, if any of you OGs out there actually remember that website before Sony fucked them out of existence. That's a true story, by the way. I remember seeing this on there and wanting it like really bad, but like it was like retail like $100 or something, and ever since then I've always wanted it, and I've seen it online used a lot of the time, controller only, bad condition, like 150, 200 bucks. I was like, fuck, I'm never gonna get this thing. There's a guy there selling it for 75, and that was already a good deal. I did manage to talk him down to 70, which is not that big of a drop, but you know, hey, I got it, and you can look at it this way, I got this for free when you think about it. That's a package deal, I guess, even though it's from two totally different sellers, but you get my point. But yeah, there you go, guys. That was the Sega Saturn mold PlayStation 2 controller. I don't know if it works on a PS1 or not. I haven't tested that. Nevertheless, cool controller. Yeah, that's it for my pickups at AVGC. I hope I get to go back again next year because it was fucking awesome. I'd love to go back. It was great. Thank you to Greg for these games. Thank you to everybody who came out to see me and talk to me. That was awesome. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you all later.